The Fifth Crusade was born from a vision of uniting Christendom against the Muslim powers that held the Holy Land. Following the failures and lessons of previous crusades, Pope Innocent III called upon knights, nobles, and commoners alike to embark on a new campaign. Their eyes were set not on Jerusalem directly, but on Egypt, the cradle of Muslim power in the region, a strategy intended to weaken the Sultanate from its heart. The call resonated across Europe, stirring both devout faith and ambition. Men from Germany, Hungary, Austria, and the Low Countries answered, bringing with them the banners of Christendom and the hope of eternal glory. Among them rose prominent leaders, including King Andrew II of Hungary and Duke Leopold VI of Austria, their names destined to be etched into history, alongside those of the previous crusading generations. As the armies assembled, the logistical challenge of crossing the Mediterranean became apparent. The fleet sailed toward the Nile Delta, carrying not only warriors, but a sense of divine mission. Ships crowded the harbors, sails filled with the winds of destiny, and prayers murmured among the ranks. Upon arrival, the Crusaders encountered the strategic brilliance of the Ayyubid defenders, whose control over the Nile and its waterways created a formidable obstacle. The city of Damietta, a key port and a gateway into Egypt, became the focal point. Its walls were strong, its garrison determined, yet the Crusaders pressed forward, driven by faith and the promise of plunder and prestige. Siege warfare in the early 13th century was a slow, grueling enterprise. The Crusaders built towers, dug trenches, and attempted to breach the city's fortifications, while the defenders sallied forth to disrupt their efforts. The Nile itself, both a lifeline and a weapon, influenced every maneuver. Floods and tides dictated when attacks could be launched and when supplies arrived. Despite these challenges, the Crusaders managed to encircle Damietta, cutting off its access to reinforcements and trade. Victory seemed within reach, yet patience and coordination were tested as months dragged on, each day a battle of attrition, endurance, and morale. Amidst the siege, internal dynamics among the Crusaders revealed the fragility of unity. National rivalries, divergent strategies, and disputes over leadership emerged, threatening to fracture the coalition. King Andrew, who had marched with enthusiasm and a substantial contingent, found himself at odds with other commanders over the pace and methods of assault. Negotiations, counsel, and sometimes outright confrontations punctuated the campaign. Yet the common goal of capturing Damietta held them together, if only tenuously, and the city itself loomed ever larger on the horizon, a prize worth the sacrifices and the squabbles alike. As the Crusaders tightened their grip, the defenders of Damietta employed clever tactics to prolong their resistance. Fires were set, sorties launched, and walls reinforced with every effort. The psychological toll on the besiegers was immense, with disease, fatigue, and the harsh Egyptian climate wearing down their strength. Yet, the persistence of the Crusaders eventually paid off. In 1219, after prolonged struggle, the city fell. Damietta's capture marked the high point of the Fifth Crusade, a moment of triumph that seemed to vindicate the faith and resolve of all who had journeyed across Europe to fight under the cross. With Damietta in their hands, the Crusaders faced a crucial decision: press onward toward Cairo, the heart of Ayyubid power, or consolidate their gains and strengthen their hold on the Nile Delta. Strategic vision and overconfidence collided as the leadership debated the next move. Advocates for immediate advance argued that striking swiftly at the Sultanate's center could end the war decisively. Others urged caution, warning that extended lines of supply, the unpredictability of the Nile, and the resilience of the Egyptian forces made haste dangerous. In the end, the decision to advance was made, setting the stage for one of the most fateful episodes of the campaign. The march toward Cairo revealed the formidable challenge of waging war in unfamiliar terrain against an enemy adept at defensive strategy. The Crusaders faced logistical nightmares, from crossing the Nile's branches to navigating inundated fields that slowed progress. The Ayyubid forces, led by Al-Kamil, used the landscape to their advantage, flooding plains and cutting off supply routes. Every step toward the capital tested the courage and ingenuity of the Christian armies. Battles erupted at strategic points, sieges of smaller fortresses punctuated the advance, and yet the ultimate prize remained tantalizingly out of reach, demanding both tactical brilliance and steadfast endurance. Negotiation and diplomacy also played a subtle, decisive role during this period. Al-Kamil, a shrewd and pragmatic ruler, attempted to exploit the Crusaders' ambition through offers and proposals, including an opportunity to surrender Jerusalem in exchange for peace. Such overtures created tension within the Crusader camp, revealing conflicting priorities among commanders. Some were willing to accept political compromise for strategic gain, while others saw only military conquest as acceptable. These delicate negotiations highlighted the interplay between faith, power, and pragmatism, illustrating that the war was fought not only with swords and siege engines, but also with the art of diplomacy and the calculation of risk. As the Crusaders pressed deeper into Egypt, the forces of nature conspired against them. The Nile's seasonal flooding reshaped the battlefield, drowning camps, isolating units, and forcing retreat. Starvation and disease weakened the soldiers, while morale wavered under the relentless pressures of the campaign. Despite these setbacks, moments of heroism and resilience shone through, with leaders organizing daring assaults, engineering feats to bridge waterways, and inspiring speeches to maintain unity. The combination of human determination and environmental challenge created a narrative as epic as any battlefield tale, underscoring both the vulnerability and the strength of men driven by a higher cause. The culmination of the Fifth Crusade came in a series of desperate engagements near Mansoura. The Crusaders, overextended and exhausted, faced coordinated resistance from Al-Kamil's forces, who exploited every tactical opportunity to disrupt and repel them. Urban combat, ambushes, and relentless pressure eroded the Crusader army's effectiveness. Eventually, recognition of the untenable situation forced leaders to negotiate withdrawal. The decision was painful, but pragmatic, as remaining in Egypt risked annihilation. The Crusaders agreed to surrender Damietta in exchange for safe passage, marking a somber conclusion to a campaign that had begun with soaring ambition and ended with bitter lessons in the limits of power and planning. The aftermath of the Fifth Crusade resonated across Christendom and the Muslim world alike. Though the Crusaders had failed to achieve their ultimate objective, the campaign demonstrated both the reach and the vulnerabilities of European military might. Tales of bravery, misjudgment, and endurance were recorded by chroniclers, shaping the memory of the Crusade for generations. Meanwhile, the Egyptian Sultanate emerged intact, its resilience reinforced, and its strategic position strengthened by the experience of facing a multinational invading force. The Fifth Crusade, in its successes and failures, offered enduring insights into the complex interplay of faith, ambition, strategy, and circumstance. Ultimately, the story of the Fifth Crusade is one of aspiration and limitation, of human courage confronted by the immutable realities of politics, geography, and the natural world. From the gathering of knights across Europe to the siege of Damietta, the march toward Cairo, and the retreat that concluded the campaign, every episode reflects the high stakes and profound uncertainties of medieval warfare. The legacy of the Crusade endures, not only in historical records, but in the enduring fascination it holds as an epic struggle shaped by devotion, strategy, and the unpredictable forces of history.